I remember I went to India when I was 23 in 1970, and I was never going to come back to America. I sold everything I had, and I gave my genes away. Everything was gone. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And I stayed in India for 2.5 years, and then my guru sent me back to America. He said, "You have attachment there. You have to go back." And I couldn't believe it, because really in my heart, I never wanted to come back, and I wanted to stay in India. But I had to come back, so I came back, and it took me a long time to realize what he was talking about. But my whole life and everything that's happened to me in all these many years, because that's how many years? It's almost 50 years now, 49 years since he sent me back. No, 47 years, is what he was talking about when he said, "You have attachment, you have to go back." I thought I could, unconsciously, I thought I could bypass my stuff. I thought I could find a way around it, not have to deal with it, and try to get some bliss state, which I thought was better than what I was feeling, which was pretty true, because I wasn't very happy as a kid. But I thought I could bypass my stuff and go directly to go and collect $200, But it is not possible. So if I have any message to you all and to myself, is to simply deal with what you have to deal with now while you can. Because the only thing keeping us from recognizing our true nature, which is our true self, is our own stuff. Our own attachments, our own fears, our own shame, our own anger, our own greed, our own selfishness. There's nothing else that's preventing us from recognizing who we are. And when you recognize who you are, then you recognize who everybody else is, because everybody is the same inside. Which is why Maharaji's instructions to us from the very beginning were serve everyone, feed everyone, remember God. Love everyone, serve everyone, remember God. He was a being, is a being, who had completely merged into the universe and recognized the oneness of all life. So if anyone out there feels that they're suffering, we're all suffering. But because we think our experience is more important than anybody else's, we're always protecting ourselves, building walls to hide behind, making sure we have enough first. And even when we do spiritual practice, very subtly, and sometimes not so subtly, it's all about building a bigger, shinier me. And that's just not the best agenda to have in the long run. So when you notice that kind of stuff going on, one has to practice letting go of it. The whole path is letting go of the stuff that we get glued to. And whatever methods you use, whatever belief system you buy into, ultimately it's really all about letting go. Letting go what pulls us out of ourselves. Letting go what makes us imagine that something will be better than who we really are. So that's what the work is. It's not about any particular type of experience, because any experience we get is going to be impermanent, ever-changing, transitory, and won't last very long. And you can never hold on to it, because the ego is like a big hole in the bucket, and everything goes right through and down the hole. No matter how much goodness, no matter how much bliss, no matter how much happiness, no matter how much whatever, there's a big hole in the bucket. And until that hole is mended, we'll never really get what we're looking for. So in the chanting practice that I do, which is my main practice at this point, I'm not trying to feel anything particular. I'm not trying to make anything happen. I'm simply trying to focus on the sound of what I'm singing, which in India they call the names of God, for a good reason. Because these names are actually windows and doorways into our true heart, our true nature. So as we practice coming back again and again and again and again and again, we're developing new neural pathways in the brain. We're developing a more comfortable sense of being with ourselves as we are, not as some imagination better version of us, which is really what drives our spiritual practice for the most part. We're trying to get a better me that we could even like a little bit. But it doesn't really work that way. So, thus spake.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, so for me personally, I can definitely relate to that. You know, I'm always finding myself trying to, you know, become somebody better than who I am instead of just accepting who I am in this moment. Um, what are like the things that you found most helpful to recognize your blockages?
Well, two things. First, the first thing that was life-changing for me was living in India with Indian families who were devotees of Maharaji, Nimkaroli Baba. And just seeing what life could really be like and how it was possible to be living in that love all the time, regardless of where you were or what you were doing. I remember when I was staying in the temple, one of my favorite families came to do their yearly puja, their yearly worship of the Guru. And I remember thinking, you know, what's wrong with these people? They only live like about a half an hour away and they only come a few times a year and he's here. Why don't they come every day? That's where my head was at. They were with him, even if they weren't with him physically. So, but I didn't get that at the time. But that was the point. They had developed that kind of connection that that stayed with them all the time. So seeing that was possible and finally understanding what it was a big thing. A big thing for me. And now, but it's it's not to say that you shouldn't try to feel good and find those pleasant feelings. The problem is that we hold on to them too much and we get attached to them, and then we suffer when they're gone. So it's more of a situation where we should try to keep our eyes open and deal with reality as it's coming to us. And it's very painful to do that. Very painful. Because we're seeing all our stuff, and we're trained also very well to judge ourselves very harshly. And we just, it's a knee-jerk reaction. We don't even notice it anymore. Like, oh, we're so used to putting ourselves down. We're so used to following that program unconsciously that's why we can't look at our stuff, because it hurts so much for us to feel so bad about ourselves. And so that self-loathing and that self-hatred is really a very big issue for Westerners especially.
I'll pipe up real quick. Thank you so much, Katie, for being here. Thank you
Hi.
so much. Super big. I guess my biggest question is how, when you say like to live in that feeling all the time, you see that, I've watched your documentaries. I know how long you've spent through India and all this work that you've done. Do you find still that do you think that it's only reserved for the few to finally be one with the universe? Not even reserved, but it just seems like one, you know what I mean? Like, it seems like everybody's on this journey and there's only a few who have attained the level. Do you think that that's purposeful? That's basically what I'm saying.
Purposeful means what?
purposeful meaning in the sense that a universal, like it's like our design as humans to continue to learn, and there's a few people who we can learn from that have ascended to that level. Does that make sense?
Um, it might look like that,
Okay.
no doubt, because we see it once again through our own eyes, which are limited in time and space and identification with the body and the thoughts and the emotions.
Mm.
From the point of view of my guru, nothing ever happened, and we're all enlightened and always will be, because he sees reality. We're stuck in time. Time seems real to us because we have a body that decomposes as the days go by. But that's just the physical body. For the beings that aren't identified with that, there is no time, necessarily. Depends on their level of understanding. But for us, there's two realities for us. There's ultimate reality and relative reality. Ultimate reality is the oneness of the universe. We're all part of one being. Actually, the same, what's looking out of your eyes right now, what's hearing in your ears, what's tasting with your tongue, feeling the touch with your skin and the smell with your nose, that is the same exact thing in every being in the universe. That awareness, that consciousness, that knowing. Everyone is exactly the same in there. But we're looking out, and we're identified with the stuff that we meet out in the senses and in the thoughts and emotions. So that's why it looks like that to us. That's relative reality. And relative reality has rules. If you play in traffic, you're going to get hit by a car.
Right.
That's a rule. Stop at the go at the green. That's a rule. Eat well, take care of your body, don't destroy yourself. Those are rules. Those are, ultimate reality has no rules, but we don't know that. So we can't pretend that those no rules apply to us, which many people do. But what we need to do is find a way to bring life and bring even love to all the stuff that is entering our awareness every minute of every day. That's our karma. Everything that happens to us, everyone we meet, everyone we pass in the street. Some people just pass, you don't even see them. Some people pass, you notice them. Some people pass, you marry them. It's all depending on karma.
Yeah.
And what previous karmas you had with those beings. So honoring the karmas, living fully with them without fear, without anxiety, and with a sense of understanding that this is what it is. I have to deal with this. There are no mistakes, unfortunately. From our point of view, it appears that there are very terrible things that happen to people, but we don't see the causes and conditions that created that. And so we judge it according to our own limited delusional understanding, which is perfectly understandable. So that's why letting go is such an important thing. Because here you are, Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, and then you're gone for 20 minutes imagining what it's going to be like when you can get home and have some ice cream and sit down with TV and watch a movie, and then, Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Right? A lifetime can go by. For most people it does, and they never know they're here for a second. So just imagine, just bow to the fact that we're even interested in this stuff in the slightest, because that's also a result of karma. And we need to honor that, respect it, and try to understand what that means in our daily, everyday life. There's no other planet to live on at this point. There is nowhere to go.
I say that all the time.
This is it. Yeah. We say it, but it's an awareness that can deepen. Right now we say it means this. But 10 years from now we say it might mean a whole other thing to us. So it's not that it's not correct, it's just not inclusive enough and deep enough. But that happens. You know, spiritual life is a ripening process. It's not, I never learned a fucking thing. Not one in my life. But I've been surrounded by so many incredible suns and light and goodness and love that it's just ripened me a little bit, and really a little bit. So, and that's what practice does. It ripens us. It plants seeds within us that grow for the things that we want, that we need. So, yeah. So, if we're even interested in this stuff at all, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? My parents, they were good people, but they had no interest in this. None. My grandparents, nobody in my family. But I had one saint, one aunt who was considered to be a saint because she didn't complain.
It's just that everybody else was happy about that, I'm sure.
Yeah, that was our quality. You know, the
That's a
quality
good quality.
was saintliness, you know, in
Yeah,
my family.
that's
So,
beautiful. I definitely, most people do not even realize they're here, not even for 1 second.
yeah, you get
That
born, you graduate high school, you drink some beer, and you're gone.
that's
That's it.
wild, man. You struck a chord with me on that one because it definitely, I had that immediate feeling of moments when I have felt here.
Yeah.
And well, like you said, then you slip back and you go, oh, hey, later, and this and that, and I want to eat some ice cream.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
And here's an interesting thing is that your personal will, like, I'm going to do this, that can't make that happen, being here. You only get here by letting go of the things that take you away. There's nothing to hold on to. There's no place to put a stake in the ground and hold on. I'm going to hold on to here. Oh, you're gone already. So it's not our personal will in that way, but our personal will can help us do practice and understand more about the path and try to become good human beings. That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. There's nothing else to be. When you're a different type of being, then you would try to be the best type of being that is. Right now, regardless of what happened to us and what we've been trained to think and believe about ourselves and about other people, regardless of how angry we are at having been hurt and betrayed by so many different things in life, we need to find a way to become good human beings, to recognize that, and to recognize it in everyone, and forgive ourselves also. Big thing.
Totally amazing. Yeah, I agree. I don't want to take, I could keep talking to you forever, so I'm gonna let somebody else do it. But thank you so much, KD. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Krista with a hand up. Krishna.
So grateful to have you here. One thing that I was thinking, I love how you referenced your guru as a being, even though he's passed on from his body, that he's, still a presence. And after watching your documentary, I felt really called to, kind of like study or follow, or maybe do like a little bit more research to connect with that presence, that awareness, that kind of, like you said, the melting with the universe. What would you recommend if someone wanted to learn from that guru's energy? Would you just call upon that and invite it into your life? Or maybe is there a book, or what would you recommend to connect with that energy?
Well, all of the above. Yeah, I mean, it's good to read. There's a few books about him, not very much, not very many. One is a book that Ram Dass put together years ago called Miracle of Love. Yeah. And then there's two other books. Oh, there's 4 more books. One of them is called Love Everyone by Parvati Marcus, Markus. And she took all us old people, our diaries from those days with Maharaji, and she recreated like what it was like sitting with him, hanging out with him. It's fantastic, yeah. There's another great book called Sometimes Brilliant. I don't know if you know this, but until not too long ago, smallpox was one of the greatest destroyers of life and creators of suffering that the world had ever known. And there were hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people every year that died from smallpox. So in the book Sometimes Brilliant, my friend Larry Brilliant, that's his name, writes about how Maharaji sent him to work for the United Nations Health Organization and kept telling them to go down there till he got a job, and actually that led to the eradication of smallpox. There is no more smallpox in the world at this point. It's gone. And the story is extraordinary, and there's a lot about Maharaji in there, and you get a real sense for how he was and is in the world. It's, he wasn't a teacher, he didn't write books, he didn't initiate people, he didn't give lectures. He's just answered the phone when it rang. He just changed your life. He was what they call a siddha, which is, he just rearranged your karmas and created situations for us to blossom that would have destroyed us previously. And he didn't ask you if it was okay. That's the nice part about it. He just did it. You find out 30 years later something happened. I went, oh, really? So read about him and get a feel for him, and he's not somewhere else. We're the ones who aren't here. The great beings are right here all the time. So when we get here, we'll be with them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that, Kristen. Mike, go ahead, buddy.
Hey, Katie, thank you for being here. So I was thinking about, I listened to a lot of Raghu Marcus's podcast with the episodes with Ram Dass and went through a lot of his journey, which is actually how I, found out about you, and you guys' journey together. And Ram Dass talks about the night where he was thinking about his mother under the tree, and then that's when he met, very shortly thereafter, he met Maharaji, and Maharaji ended up, saying, you were thinking about your mother last night, and, said, how she passed away and all that. And Ram Dass talks about that moment where his mind was blown open. And I was just curious to hear maybe something from you that, was there a moment in time with Maharaji or a series of moments or whatever where he blew your mind and just kind of broke down that mental barrier that I think a lot of us, well, I know that I still have with this whole process. So,
Yeah.
Pass it on to you.
Well, it's very hard to recognize this, but for the most part, our minds have already been blown. You see, Ram Dass wasn't really interested in this stuff at all. He was a Harvard-trained psychiatrist or psychotherapist, psychoanalyst. He was a professor. He was an intellectual. He needed the acid to blow his head open. And then when he met Maharaji, even that changed his whole life. Most of us we've already been shot out of the cannon, and our eyes are open and go like, oh, what's going on here? But it's already happened. It's just now a question of getting comfortable with it in a way. He wasn't interested in this stuff. He didn't want to meet a guru. He didn't want to do anything. He didn't meditate. He didn't do anything. But at that moment when Maharaji said to him, your mother, she died. She got very big here, and he put his hand over his area here before she died. And Ram Dass said, yes. Then Maharaji said, spleen in English. He didn't speak English. And when he said that, Ram Dass totally fell apart. And it was just like the balloon burst, So, actually my moment happened happened. I had two experiences that changed my life, and both of them were long after Maharaji had left the body, as far as I could tell that he left the body. You know, so that happened to me in India in 1984, which is 11 years later, and then another 11 years later in 1995. Both of those experiences really saved my life and changed it without any. Yeah, I was at a very low place in both of those, at both of those times, and they just blew my head open totally. So the first one in '84, I had just quit freebase cocaine. I had been addicted for about 2 years. Do you know what freebase is?
Yes, sir. I'm well aware.
Very good. That's 2 points for you. Yeah, that just proves you're qualified for this.
Oh.
So I had just, by Maharaji's grace, I had given that up. Actually, my Indian father, Mr. Tiwari, who was my best friend in the world and my teacher, and he had been with Maharaji for 40 years. He came to America to visit us, and he took one look at me, and he goes, "Promise me now you will give up cocaine. Promise me now," like that. And I had been up all night the night before smoking base. I just looked at him and I said, "Okay." And from that moment until this moment, not one, it was completely gone from my consciousness. Completely gone. I know it's a miracle. It was his grace, it was Maharaji's grace, and Tiwari was a very great yogi. He had been with Maharaji for 40 years. He was a real yogi. So they saved me. First of all, if I would be dead meat long before this. I know me, right? There's no way I could deal with that kind of addiction myself. It killed me. It would have killed me. So anyhow, so I'd recently, that had happened, and I went to India, and I was really very fragile and very shaky. And I got to the temple, and it was, I thought, all right, I'm going to go into my room, I'm going to close the door, and I'm going to sleep for a week. I got there in the middle of Durga Puja, which is a 10-day ceremony. Every day you sit long hours in front of the sacred fire and you make offerings, swaha, swaha, all day long. So I walk in, everybody's so happy to see me. Krishna Das, oh, you've come, this is so great. You'll sit here with us in the fire with us. And I went, oh, shit. You know, but there was no way to avoid it. So every day I'm all swaha this, shit, swaha that, oh, god damn it, swaha. So, and you can't eat until the evening because you have to fast all day. It was so horrible, it's hard to believe. So every day there's a break from the morning puja, about a 2-hour break until the afternoon ceremony starts. And what happens is at the end of the morning ceremony, you come up from the back of the temple up to the front where Maharaji used to sit, and we do arti, which means you wave the lights and you sing a hymn. Then you go rest, right? So one day, I'm standing there, you know, with my arms crossed, kind of off on the side. And so the chanting was over, and this very old lady had bowed down to the bed, the tucket it's called, where Maharaj used to sit. She put her head down on the tucket. Everybody bowed down, and then everybody stood up and went away. This old lady was gone. She just gone. She just stayed down there, and she was like, she went into samadhi. She just went out. And I looked at her, and it was like a knife in my heart, you know. It was like a knife in my heart, and I thought, he's alive for these people. He's alive. And it was so horrible. I was stunned. I was like, it felt like I'd been like hit by a truck. So I just went over and I sat down, and I was just like that, you know. And then Maharaji had a very, very great devotee named Siddhima, and she saw me sitting there, and she sent for me. And I thought, you know, why don't these people just leave me the fuck alone? I am so tired. I don't want any part of this shit. But you can't say no. So I followed this. She had sent somebody to get me. So I followed this woman in to the back area where Maharaj used to live, and into the room where he used to sit. And Siddhima was sitting on the floor by one of the beds that he used to sit on. And when I walked into that room, I got hit with a thunderbolt right in the center of my chest. And I exploded. And I fell to the ground, weeping like a baby. I could not stop crying. And I kept thinking, she must think I'm crazy. And I tried to stop crying, but I couldn't stop. And the moment that happened, a few things happened inside of me. The first thing was, I saw that Maharaji had been with me every second of every day. From the moment he left the body until that moment, he had never left me for a second. Right? And I also saw that I would not let myself feel him. I was so unhappy and so angry that he left me, and so angry at myself for not going back to India to see him before he died. A whole bunch of things. I would not let myself feel that I had built a wall around myself, right? And the next thing I saw was that every brick in this wall had a little flashing neon sign like guilt, guilt, shame, shame, anger, anger, fear, fear. Everyone, right? They were all like this. And then I saw, you know, I can take this wall down. All I have to do is look at it and start to deal with it. It'll go away. What's the big deal? I didn't even know it existed, and then I saw it, and I said, I can take this wall down. All I have to do is deal with my shit. And then someone comes to the window and calls me. KD, we're starting the puja. 2 hours had gone by, like a blink of an eye. And I cried for like days. And I come back to the puja, and I'm sitting next to this guy who sponsored the puja, kind of a friend of mine, and he's looking at me. He's doing the swahas, and I'm doing them with him, and he's looking. He goes, "Krishna Das, has someone died?" You know, and I just said, you know, and then he, you know, Indians aren't big huggers, you know, so he very kind of tentatively takes his arm around, he passed me on the back, and like this, you know. It was unbelievable. I cried for days, and that was the beginning of me recognizing that it was going to be okay. I could do this. All I had to do was pay attention to this shit. I could not pretend that I didn't have this stuff, right? I had to take responsibility for it. That was really the beginning of a whole nother way of living. And you can do it. It doesn't happen all at once anyway, but you can do it. Whatever tools you need, use them. Whatever comes to you to use. Medication, counseling, therapy, groups, AA, NA, whatever's going to work for you, whatever you think is going to help you release this stuff. Because it's glued to us, but we can release it. That's the deal. Of course we can. Because it isn't who we are. It's just shit that's piled on top of who we are. So we can do it. It can be done. Anybody can do it. But it's really only grace that we even know about this in the first place. That's the thing. It's not a mistake. You didn't get here by mistake. You didn't sneak in the back door. This is life. We're qualified. This is our blessing, is to be able to look at this stuff and deal with it and start to feel better about ourselves. Yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with me.
Mike, that was great. I see Renee's hand up.
Hi, KD. Thank you so much for that wonderful story. And like I was writing in the chat, and I don't know if you can see, but you are the first speaker that we've had that I literally, my energy is just vibrating. Like I'm getting goosebumps because my soul, for some reason, extremely resonates with you. And that is the most amazing feeling. I've been following you now for probably, I want to say it was weird because of how everything kind of connects. Few months prior to Kyle announcing that you would be speaking, I had found you on YouTube inadvertently, looking for Om chants.
Om
And
chants.
yeah, you know, just to kind of go through meditations with, and then I found your music, and I have been hooked since. And I blast your music in the car with the windows down, people looking at me like I'm a nut job, but you know what? That's cool. I don't care. You know, and I'm very observant with things. And I noticed that you wear red a lot. Like, is there a reason behind you wearing red?
Yeah, there is.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm wicked observant when it comes. I'm like,
That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So back in 1972, when I was living in the temple with Maharaji, it's a long story. You know, I wrote a book called Chants of a Lifetime, Chants. So all these stories are in that book in more detail. So you might enjoy that. So, but I was living in the temple, and a whole bunch of things happened, and I was basically having like a complete meltdown, a total nervous breakdown. And he put me back together, and then he says to me, he said, "You're Hanuman. You have to wear red." He said, "Change all your clothes, dye all your clothes red, even your underwear," he said.
Wow.
So I had to dye everything red. Now I'm just keep it to the T-shirt, you know. That's the thing. But so that's why, because he said for a long time I didn't, though. After he died, even after I was singing, started singing. I was wanted to be like the Hell's Angel of chanting, right? But I got over that eventually.
Well, you are definitely the Hell's Angel of chanting. You are absolutely amazing.
Thanks.
Like, I don't think I found anybody like, I'm like a little kid right now. I'm getting giddy because it's like meeting a celebrity for the first time. So I do apologize. My inner child is approaching. She's coming out. So.
That's all right. That's okay.
But you
Thank
are awesome, KD, and your story is so powerful, and I know it can resonate with a lot of people. You're very real, number one. You're very humble. You don't care to throw the F-bomb or the shit or whatever, and that's what it is. We carry so much shit, and all we have to do is, like, just throw that shit away sometimes, you know?
You can't throw it too far. It sticks to your hands.
Exactly. Gotta bury it.
So you have to let it go, that's all. Let it go.
Thank you, KD.
Again and again and again. Just keep letting go. All right, take it easy. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Renee. I see Sean's hand up. I'm going to unmute Sean.
How you doing? How you doing?
Hey, Sean.
Katie, it's great to see you here, and with my friends. There's some awesome people in here, Kyle included tonight. My friend Colleen down here is like, you got to listen to this stuff. The first time I met you, I went with some friends out to Northampton about 4 years ago, and we all wore red plaid shirts and sat in front of the stage. And Nina picked it up first, and you took the time, you and Nina, Juna, and took the time after to talk with us, and that was awesome. Um, on a spiritual journey, like friends are the best thing.
That's it.
And you started out tonight talking about like dealing with the stuff,
Yeah.
and not to advocate for any particular
I breaking up a little bit.
journey,
Yeah.
but I had the sorry. So can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I think one of the most profound things that I'll share on my journey was I had somebody that abused me horribly as a child. And about 3 years ago on Christmas, I left a meeting and I was out in the parking lot and everyone had left. And someone said, "Hi, Sean." And I turned around to hug them because that's what I do in my fellowship. And it was that person that had abused me so as a child. And I turned around and I hugged him.
Wow.
And like it seems everything comes through paradox for me.
Yeah.
And at that moment, it's inexplicably the most profound spiritual experience I ever had in my life, to hug that person that I'd never forgive.
Yeah.
I tortured myself all my life trying to learn and know and information. And on my spiritual journey, I try to be a happy idiot and as dumb as I can be. I love in Ram Dass's book, A Spiritual Journey. At one point, I listened to the audio book, and it was great to hear his voice. And he pauses and he says, "Perhaps we all have our own God." And you talk about it's God is all of us, and we're not separate. And I just want to express the gratitude to be here tonight, all of us as one. And thank you so much for doing this with us tonight. It's an absolute blessing. I got home just in time to turn on the computer, make a quad shot of espresso, and eat some chocolate chip cookies. And it's the only drug I'm on today, but I'm flying. So thanks for the buzz and thanks for showing up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. That was great. I see Rick's hands up.
So it's actually my question, Kyle. Katie, thank you so much for being here with us. I was really wondering if you had any idea when you were going to be able to perform for us again, because we all really look forward to seeing you in person.
Yeah. It doesn't look like it's going to be too soon.
Ugh.
Yeah. I would say really, reality-wise, it could be a year before I could get back on the road.
Ugh.
I mean, who's going to want to sit in a room full of 1,000 people breathing on each other?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Rick got his hand up.
And anybody who's willing to go, they'll go without me because I don't want to be there either. But yeah, that's why we're doing all the online stuff. Every Thursdays I sing with people, and Saturdays, every other Saturday. Yeah.
When can we see? How do we see that?
Good question. Go to my website, krishnadas.com, and there's somewhere on the website it'll show you how to connect. It's on YouTube. It's on my Facebook page. It's on a few different other platforms too. You can find
Excellent.
it.
Thank you so much.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
KD, could you tell us a little more about your foundation, your nonprofit? Just because we have a bunch of people that love to give in this group and support. So I'd love to just hear how we can help you a little bit more.
Thanks for asking. That's a good question. Actually, I started the foundation because I had so many friends out there that were really under the radar doing things, little things. Like I have a friend who goes to Old Delhi and teaches body movement to old Muslim ladies. You know, she's like her own thing. She doesn't get funding. I have other people working with trafficking, young girl trafficking in Nepal and Delhi. different things around the world that really are under the radar. So I started that foundation that if money came to me, if people wanted to help those situations, they could give to the foundation and get a tax break. In the present time, I have to say, we're we're still trying to do what we can for people, but we're also feeling the pinch very badly. So we have to pay our mortgages and keep the team alive that creates all the stuff that I do. You know, Nina, my assistant, and she has 2 assistants, and my daughter does the web store. So right now, if anybody did want to make any kind of donation, it's better to make it to Krishna Das Music or Pilgrim or me personally. But I'm sure that the foundation will, you know, we're keeping it alive, and we'll try to do what we can for people when we can. But if we're not eating, what are we going to do? You know, so it's like that. It's like that. But there's so many people doing good things in the world. It's extraordinary. I mean, doing things that I could never do. So, and I know so many of them from the old days in India and people I meet. So that's why we started it, and we'll keep it going. So if you want to donate to that, that's fine. But if you want to help me, that's also fine. It's up to you.
How would we do that, KD?
Well, that's a good question. I don't even know. Let me text somebody and see if I can find out for you.
Yeah, you can let me know, and we have a group that I can post it to as well.
Okay, we'll do that. Yeah.
I'll do that, yeah, because I think there'd be people that would love to support you, you know.
Yeah, it's not required, but of course it's very much appreciated.
100%. So we have time for a few more questions, as long as you're okay with that, KD. Is that all right?
I'm okay.
Yeah, great. All right, I see Marie's hand's up. Go ahead. Oh, you're muted. You gotta unmute. There you go. You're good.
Okay. Hi, Katie. Thank you very much for doing your Earth Walk now and helping so many people. I want to ask a question about, you mentioned earlier that all the great beings are right here and that we have to be here more in the now. And then at the same time, we are the world in the situation now that it just feels to me as if, of course, we can meet like this on the internet and you can still chant, but aren't we perhaps being asked to start linking in another dimension, that we start reaching out and being very present for each other? I don't know how to say it, on a deeper level or on another dimension where all those great beings are, because we're kind of there too, aren't we? And if you think like that, how could we do that?
I have to say that you're
meeting on the internet.
what was that?
Start meeting on the internet instead of the internet.
Well, even though we are not together in the physical plane, we are together on a vibrational plane. We are together in our hearts at this space. We're sharing psychic space. And all the teachers that I know, they say it's just the same as being together with a physical person. When you're plugged in like this, you're plugged in. So it's just that we've been trained not to accept that, you know, not to believe that, that's all. So if you get rid of your disbelief, you'll be fine. And you'll be connected, just as connected as you ever were or will be. So it's a question of a mental state, really, and allowing yourself to recognize that we are meeting, in fact. And that's why Maharaji doesn't need the internet, he doesn't need a phone, he doesn't need to be in the same place. And that's why he used to say, my mantra is go away. Because he didn't need you to be there. He's everywhere. The great beings are everywhere all the time because there is no time and space for them. They're beyond that. They're present everywhere. So we are not, obviously, but that doesn't mean they can't do for us what they have to do at any time, and they do. So, but from our side, you know, Maharaji used to say, he said, once I take your hand, I never let go, even when you let go of mine. So once he takes your hand, once you've connected to one of these great beings, they never go away. They never leave you. But we don't believe that. So we act as if we're alone. We act as if we're separated. We act as if we have to blah, 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 blah. And so practice, spiritual practice, dissolves that lack of faith, that lack of understanding. And it deepens our awareness of the connection. That's all that's required. So that's why practice is so important. You can't, the mind, you can't, in the conceptual mind, in the thinking mind or the feeling emotions, you cannot create the here and now. You cannot create the love that lives within us. It's already been, it's already here. And it's actually all that stuff in our heads that screws it up, so to speak, covers it up. So all you have to do is calm your ass down, breathe in and out, and let yourself recognize what's really here, which is who you really are. And that's who everybody is. And we're all here in the present moment, in this life, in this love all the time. That's ultimate reality. Relative reality is that we don't feel that, which is why we have to take the medicine to cure that delusion that we are separate. That's what practice is. That's what grace allows us to feel.
Oh, I see Leanne with her hand up.
Hello, Katie.
Hello.
G'day, mate. Thank you so much for that. I'm a newcomer to a lot of this stuff, and I know that this COVID-19 thing has been a different experience for everyone around the world. Right now here in Perth, there are no restrictions whatsoever. People are going out, people are back at work. That's not the same for other states in Australia, but here it is. But during the time that we had that little lockdown period, it was really interesting, you know, from a social worker point of view, what everyone was doing with that space, you know, how some people would view it as, you know, a fear-based thing. And, but a lot of people were, I noticed, were reconnecting on all sorts of levels, on amazing levels, on you know, on a level of nature, on a level of simplicity. You know, they were, even I learned how to work in a really different way. Like my work has changed now. Like we don't have to go to the office. I mean, I'm at work now. I'm at work now. And I take what I learn every time we have these meetings. I grab something from these meetings and I take it to my work, and I get paid to take stuff from these meetings to my work, because my work has changed now. It's evolved. And it's amazing, like the people that I'm seeing, not all people, but a lot of people who have grabbed hold of this experience and turned it into something fabulous, like, and they feel guilty. Some of them feel guilty for the fact that this hasn't been a horrible experience for them, that this has been a wonderful experience for them, because they've, you know, they've gone, okay, you know, I can see the things that are happening around the world and it's really frightening and I can see that, but that's not what's happening right here and now for me.
Yeah.
So I need to just go on my journey on what's happening for me and run with that. And that's my reality. And it's very, I can see it's really different, but I really liked what you were saying, because I work with trauma families. I really like what you were saying about, owning your stuff, like own it, respect the journey that you went through, and let's just deal with it. Don't try and push it away. Don't try and make out like it's not part of your story. And perhaps let's take out something good from it. Let's change the narrative maybe. What other good things were happening? What did you learn from it? And every time I have these meetings, and including with you, I'm getting this fantastic information, and how authentic you have been in your story about, well, this is shit and that was shit, and I was resisting, and I can't thank you enough for how reflective, again, another reflective perspective that I can now take away back to my work and for myself. So I love your music. The first time I heard it was when Kyle posted something about 3 weeks ago, and I've never really listened to music like that. I'm not from a spiritual background. None of my family were. But when I heard it, something happened in my brain, and I kind of went to another planet. And I was like, holy moly, who's this guy? So I'm going to be looking a little bit more. And thank you so very much for sharing your story, because I feel extremely blessed today. So thank you so much. Thank you very, very much.
When you find out who I am, let me know, okay?
I will. I'll get back to you on that.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leanne. Let's see. Who else got the hand up there? Anybody see anyone with a hand up? All right. Yeah. Oh, Sean. Awesome. Sean. Go ahead, Sean.
Hey, Katie, thanks for being here, man. Gratitude for sharing some of your wisdom with us. I find myself in and out of that knowingness that you talked about. When I'm not in it, I typically find myself cling to shame and guilt and some anxiety. I think I'm recognizing that I'm kind of addicted to feeling that way. And I was wondering if there's anything specific that you could suggest that one does to maybe recognize that it's not really how I want to be in. You know what I'm kind of saying?
Yeah, sure. Well, you can't think yourself out of a prison made of thought. Every thought is the prison. So what we need to train ourselves over time to recognize and release. Recognize and release. That doesn't mean evaluate. That doesn't mean even understand. It doesn't mean think about where it came from. Why has it got me? Oh shit, I'm stuck again. No. Release. Let go. So that's what the chanting is about for me. I sing, and when I notice that I'm not paying attention, or I'm stuck in something, or I'm in dreamland imagining this or remembering that, I simply let go and come back. And that's actually a seed that you just planted in your heart. It's not nothing, because like we said before, most people go their whole life and never understand that they're not here at all. They're gone. So you obviously have a sense for this and a feeling, but just like all of the rest of us, we're constantly, the waves are crashing over us constantly. However, that's why little by little you have to add some practice to your life. That's it. If you don't practice, what's going to happen? You just keep pushing the shit around, rearranging it, right? But it's through the practice that you get the inner strength to actually, for the things to release as they arise, as they come. After a while, you get so comfortable in yourself, so to speak, that you notice so much more powerfully when something's pulling you out, when some cloud has come over you. But it takes time, it takes practice, it takes courage, it takes patience, all that stuff, which nobody we ever knew had that, so But that's what it's about. So it's all good. It's all good. Find out what works for you. Use any tool you can find to help you untie those knots in your heart and just train yourself to be able to let go more easily. But you know, these are programs that are running all the time in our heads, in our lives. They're so familiar and so deep, we're just unaware that we're even in it most of the time.
Mm.
It's when you sit down or when you start to chant that you will, you know, then you start to see your mind's going crazy and you think, why did my mind get so bad right now? It's always like that. You just notice for the first time. So a little bit every day is a good idea. 5 minutes a day of just letting everything go, letting the breath settle, letting the muscles relax, just letting go. You know, just practice that a little bit. You can use your breath, you can use some mantra, you can use music, listen to music, and you'll notice you're not even paying attention to the music you picked to listen to. It's,
Yeah.
but little by little, every day, a little bit. That's how it happens.
Sweet. Thank you.
Just be kind to yourself, okay?
Uh,
That's the main
Yep.
thing.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. It's fantastic. We usually close with a prayer, but basically for anybody awakening at this time, I don't know if is there any prayer, Katie, that you have that you'd want to kind of guide us in and close us out with?
I think I can probably come up with something. Who's that on the screen? Pretty little dog. I'm going to sing this invocation that I always do before I chant. It's an invocation to the love that lives within us as who we truly are. It's in Sanskrit, so it's not too long. I'll sing it. Pranavam Bhavanakuma Kalabana Pavaka Gyanagan Jasu Hridayagar Vasin Ram Sarachapadhar Atulita Baladhamam Himashela Badeham Tanujavana Krishanam Jnaninam Graganyam Sakalagunanadhanam Panaranamadisham Raghupati Priya Bhaktam Vatajatam Namami Goshpadi Krutavadisham Mashiki Kritarakshasam Ramayana Mahamalaratnam Vande Nilatmajam Anjananandaram Viram Janaki Shokanashanam Kapi Samakshahantaram Vande Lanka Bhayankaram Ulangya Sindho Salilam Salilam Yashokavahi Janakatmajaya Adartane Tadalanka Namamitam Pranjaliranjaneyam Manojavam Maruttatulya Vegam Jitendriyam Buddhimatam Vardishtam Patatmajam Vanarutamukyam Shri Ramadutam Sharanam Prapadye Shri Ramadutam Sharanam Prapadye Shri Ramadutam Sharanam Prapadye Anjane Matipatalanam Kanchanadri Kamani Avigraham Parijata Taramula Pavayami Pavamananandanam Yatra Yatra Raghunatha Kirtanam Tatra Tatra Kritamastakanjali Vashpavari Paripurna Lochanam Martinamat Rakshasantakam Bolo Bajranga Bali Hanuman Ki Jai. Om. Great hanging with you guys. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, on behalf of the entire Quantum Healing Collective, we're so grateful for your time. You know, it's incredible for you to come on and spend this time with our group. We're a small group, so for you to go out of your way to do that with us and share this night means the world to us. And if you ever need anything, call on the Quantum Healing Collective and we'll be there for you. So
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Love you.
Take care of y'all. But Be well.